10, 9.
You want answers? I want the truth!
Get ready for two guys who can't handle the truth.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
But we can. Dave Palumbo, Chris Aceto. RxMuscle.com presents Heavy Muscle Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Heavy Muscle Radio. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm joined, as always, by the technician, Chris Aceto, on this March 19th, 2018 evening. And Chris, Arnold Australia in the books. Roelly Winklaar. Talk about dark horses to win this show. I don't think anyone predicted Roelly, although he certainly wasn't out, of the question or out of the conversation. But I don't think a lot of people thought that it was going to be a Roelly Winklaar victory. I think everyone was talking Dexter Jackson versus Bonac rematch from the Arnold USA, and that wasn't to be the case. Hey, we said, Chris, on any given day, okay, anyone can show up a little off or have a little injury, and there's always someone waiting in the wings, and it was Roelly Winklaar on this evening. What'd you think of the victory?
He looked good. I mean, don't forget, Roelly already beat Bonac in Prague last year.
Right.
So it's twice that he's beaten him. So it's not like it's something that he can't do.
Well, Bonac is smaller than most of the guys up there. He's shorter than everyone. So for him to win, he's got to be 100%. Because when he's not 100%, he's vulnerable.
Well, dude, I looked at the pictures, and maybe he was 99.35% because. Bonac has put on more muscles than a lot of people from 2016 Olympia to the 2017 Olympia, and he's put on more muscle again, a little bit more, since the 2017 Olympia.
Well, why didn't he win then, in your estimation?
Because sometimes it's as simple as this. Roelly showed improvement over his foreshowing at the Arnold. He was washed out at the Arnold, really flat, and he was, better here for sure. And Bonac, I say he just looks like a duplicate of the Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the if you.
I thought his abs looked a little washed out in certain
shots. He has
shots.
no abs. He just hits an intercostal shot. He has no abs. None.
But I thought they looked a little sharper at the Arnold. What did you? I mean, you were at the Arnold. I wasn't there.
No. I mean, he didn't have an ab shot at the Arnold. He's never had an ab shot. He hits the intercostal, and he waits for the most muscular. And Roelly's got decent abs. Good abs. But I mean, is it an ab show?
No, I'm just saying. I'm trying to figure out.
If it's a gluten ham, listen. If it's a gluten, a lot of these shows are gluten ham shows.
Right. If it was, he would have won because he looked great from behind.
And then if Contessa won from the back, you cannot tell me that Bonac does not have the best back double in that lineup.
He does because he's the leanest from behind. I think that Roelly Winklaar.
Wackiest from behind.
Yeah, I think Roelly was having some conditioning issues in the show. I think he was really good. I don't think he was his best conditioning wise, but he certainly was the biggest guy up there, and he certainly had the freakiest muscle.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind too the other side of the coin. Although it's the exact same head judge, Steve Weinberger from both shows. You have a mix. You have some different judges at different shows, and sometimes this is an opinion sport. So,
right.
I mean, it's not like, it's the same three minus out Cedric.
Right.
If you line them up 1, 2, 3 as 2 weeks ago, what's different is Roelly looked better. I thought Bonac looked the exact same. And you have different judges, a different judge and panel. So anything can happen with a different judge and panel.
Well, it wasn't a unanimous decision. Round 1, which is the prejudging, obviously, Bonac got 9 points to Roelly's 6 points. So there was a 3-point decision there. It wasn't, usually it's, if it was unanimous, it would be 10 points for Bonac and 5 for Winklaar. So there were a couple judges that had Bonac first. Obviously, they dropped the 2 highs, the 2 low scores, and when they did that, there was still one judge who thought that Bonac should have won. Going into round 2, which I believe is the posing round that they're scoring.
Yeah.
The Arnold, they score the posing round, which I don't think they're even doing it anymore. But anyway, because I can't see that Roelly Winklaar was the best poser on stage. I can't imagine him being better than Hide Yamagishi, you know what I mean? And Hide got he got 5th place in the posing round. So I think they're kind of just going back to the old way of scoring the posing, despite Arnold's, I guess, categorical imperative that he put forth. Obviously, round 3 would be the final, so that's another judged round. And Roelly got unanimous first to Bonac's unanimous second. So
I'll judge the show. I think Bonac probably should have won, but I'll judge it for you and have in my mind be another judge, and I'll judge the same show. I give now this is just changing minds. Front double, I would say, like I'm the guy who picks Bonac to be 2 and Roelly 1. Front double, Roelly. You can justify that easily by saying, taller guy, wider guy, craziest arms in the sport.
Right.
Front lat spread, if you have Roelly winning, you could say Roelly. You can. The same judge would say, well, Bonac's a little stubby there. He doesn't open up. Well, he's got a lot of muscle. Roelly's a bigger guy, taller, wider. Side chest. It's hard to justify Roelly winning that, but you could go with.
But he's got the biggest arm and shoulder.
He's got the bigger arm and shoulder. You just took the words right out of my mouth. So it became, so you got Roelly winning 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Side tricep, Roelly's, it's arms and shoulders again.
Yeah.
Back double, it's probably arms and shoulders again for Roelly.
Well, no, you got to give Bonac the 2 back poses because.
Well, this is a judge. This is a judge who has Roelly in first. I'm playing his mind.
Even if Bonac wins those 2 back poses, you can give Roelly every other pose. Pretty much.
I'll tell you. You're right. Okay, so the same judge has Bonac winning that. The same judge probably has it a draw on the last spread. He's not impressed with the lack of height and width to Bonac. Most muscularly, definitely give it to Roelly. And even though Bonac's a sensational, but again, bamboozled with his shoulders up.
Ab thigh, you got to give even though it's a bamboozle pose, you got to give it to Bonac. He's probably got a way smaller waist than Roelly.
I don't know. Roelly's got good abs because Bonac just has the intercostals.
Yeah.
And then maybe the judge doesn't like the gold cap tooth on Bonac and the braids. I don't know.
You're funny. Look, you know what? It's unusual because usually when you see an Arnold USA champ go to Australia, it's usually a foregone conclusion, assuming they come in really good shape, that they're going to win that as well. Like, why would the placings change? I don't think Roelly changed that much to me, but like I said, we weren't sitting there in Australia. If you were there, I would say, well, what happened, Chris? But so maybe Bonac wasn't as impressive in person as he is in pictures.
Yeah, no, listen. At the end of the day, you're right. In this sense, you're right in this sense. Sometimes pictures are not representative of thin skin, true level of lack of water retention. Sometimes you can see someone and they're just so hard, they almost look flat in pictures.
Yeah.
Where in real life, they look more 3D.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. Dexter Jackson, 3rd place. Now, here's a guy who, arguably, if Bonac was a little off, which it seems like that's what the reports I'm hearing, you would think that Dexter would have stepped in there and won this show. Obviously, he was suffering from some problems too. I mean, I thought he looked really good aside from his left arm, which something happened to. Now, I talked to Don Long, so I didn't want to just start speculating with you. I said, Don, what happened to Dexter's arm? Because obviously Don's been doing his diet these past 2-3 weeks, whatever, for the 2 shows. He said that Dexter said he strained his arm, I guess, between the 2 shows, and it obviously looks like it's way more than a strained arm, at this point. That was
Is that Dexter calling you?
Yeah, that's Dexter. He heard it that we're talking about him. No, just kidding. Now, obviously, he might have thought he strained a bicep tendon, but it looks like he tore the bicep, and I think Don agreed with me in that sense that something's torn. Now, it might not be the whole thing. It could be some fibers. It almost looks like what happened to Jay Cutler when he lost to Phil Heath, the Olympia, that last, when Phil finally took over and won the Olympia. It looks like similar to that situation because even though Dexter's black, you can see some black and blue in that area and a lot of inflammation, What do you think?
It was a problem for him. I mean, if he didn't have that, I don't know how he would have done. He looked good. I mean, I thought he was better here. Technically,
he probably would have won. He probably would have won. They like the Dexter, the Dexter Jackson physique, and I think that he's the feel-good guy. But he showed up. Look, this is the first time we've ever seen Dexter with an injury that I know of. Can you think of any other time that you've seen a muscle injury on this guy?
When his calves took off.
No, well, you sort of jimmied up calves, but you didn't see like an injury on his calves.
Yeah, no.
So I mean, I don't know if this is his age catching up to him. Was it just a freak injury? I don't know. We'll have to get the full report, I'm sure, at some point in the future. Will this sideline Dexter? Was this something that needs to be, surgically fixed? Is it just a small tear? We can speculate here. I'm sure Dexter's intention was to do the Olympia later this year, so we'll have to find out what the status of it is. And the good thing is I talk to Don a lot, so I'm sure I can get the scoop from Don. It sucks as a competitor to have to get on stage when you've torn something. Look what Dorian did. Remember when Dorian tore that?
Oh yeah,
bicep, 94 before the 94 Olympia. I mean, the guy fucking went on stage with it torn. I don't know how he pulled that one off, and he never got it fixed. And people always criticize that bicep for the rest of his career. He had that one little head that was kind of torn.
Isn't it funny when in retrospect he had a torn bicep? Yeah.
And Dorian never did a crab most muscular after that. If you remember, it was always the hands together one because you couldn't see the torn bicep on it. So I don't know. Dorian got away with it. Won a couple more Olympias. Won 5 more actually. So that we shouldn't count Dexter out. That's the moral of the story. He still finished 3rd, so that tells you how good he was. To be able to pull that off with the bicep that looks like that. And to me, it didn't look. How like some guys shoot their arms up, and you see it's just like an infection. It didn't look like that. That's not what it looked like to me. It looked like he actually physically, damaged it in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was the next 3 places, once again I wasn't there, so I don't like to impose my will or my opinion too strongly when I'm not at a show. But
you're not going to get
Lucas Acelo's 4th, 5th was Hide Yamagishi. We'll get to him, and 6th was Luke Sandow. I personally, and I'm not just saying this because you helped him, I liked Luke Sandow's physique. I thought he should have been probably 4th here in this lineup. But let's talk about Lucas Acelo, who we know he's like the Andreas Munzer of our era now. This guy's always shredded to the bone, in shape, and look, we've talked about this. Chris, you've said this. I'll quote you. A lot of times these shows turn into a glute ham show, and he's got them in spades.
Yeah. He's. I mean, it's. There's some odd shape. I mean, he's got good condition here.
Maybe not his best. Not his best.
It's not his best. He's got funny low body fat with flatness through the pecs where I've seen him fuller. He's holding some water. You can hold water and be ripped. He's still ripped, but holding water. I don't know if that makes sense to people.
He's a really good poser, too, and he presents his body in a very artistic way, and I think that can bamboozle the judges a little bit, too,
Yeah.
When he's standing there, he doesn't look that good.
I've seen him better. Yeah. So, what, if you're gonna judge like Roelly, he's better here than the Arnolds, and Bonac's off 100th of 1%, and people, want to say he's, quote, off. I wonder what Neil Hill would have to say about that. We can't interview him because I tried to interview Neil with Bonac after the Arnold 2 weeks ago.
Right.
But Neil said, we're with Flex Magazine. I said, there's no such thing as Flex Magazine. He said, we're with AMI, the National Enquirer, I guess.
It's a shame.
No, because I would have loved to interview.
Of course, it's
Bonac.
a shame when you can't interview these people, especially when they can't interview with anyone else. I don't know. It's silly.
You can't. You can do an interview with Bonac now, and it'd be a pretty good interview. But when you're pumped up 30 seconds after this,
right?
You come off stage and you're excited, and
that's when you want to capture them.
Yeah. I want to repump them up even higher, get them even more crazy.
So somehow Lucas Aceto sneaks into that fourth position. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's based on conditioning in some crazy sense of the word. Hide Yamagishi, who Milos worked with, and I was texting with Milos the whole weekend pretty much. I was like, Milos, can you send me the play-by-play? He's like, I'm working with Hide, like Milos had to work the stage while Hide's up there. He had to pay.
You had to give him the instructions on the quarter turns.
I just stole everything from his Instagram. That's all right.
Yeah.
And we have a full contest gallery from our photographer Darren Burns, who got me the photos the next day. And they're great. So if you want to really if you guys out there want to take a look at some of the
I haven't even
pictures,
seen them. How's that?
they'll be on
there right now.
RxMuscle.com. They may not be up right now because we're recording the day before I just uploaded them, but they are up there and they're really good on the contest database. But Hide certainly came in bigger. Okay, his conditioning was good.
Already, Dave, they're up. So go ahead.
Oh, they are. Okay, good. His conditioning is good, and I still say that he's stuck between that 212 and the open. He doesn't look like a full open guy yet to me, and I don't know if he can get there. Is it a good decision for Hide to go back to the open, or should he stay as a 212 in your estimation? Stop making noise over there.
I'm trying to look at the pictures. It's hard to say, Dave. You know why it's hard to say? Because I never thought he was a really good. He looked like a thin 212 bodybuilder.
I know, but is he big enough to be an open guy? I mean, fifth place is
not
great
against
here.
this lineup. No.
Yeah, he's
absolutely not against this lineup. No.
Maybe he needs another year. Milos will get him up another 40 pounds. You never know.
Start carving him now for next year.
He definitely looks bigger. His conditioning is good. He does have there's a little bit of and I tried to describe it in my wrap-up that I did, like a fluid layer on his body that I can't really define what it is. It doesn't look as sharp as when I've seen him in the past, maybe at 212. So I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm talking about? It's like he's full and he's hard, but maybe there's like a little water there somewhere. I don't know where it is.
I mean, he's probably overcarbed.
Maybe it's like 5 million grams.
No, I mean,
of carbs,
he looks good, but he's overcarbed.
Right. That's probably what it is that I'm saying.
And I'm looking at pictures right now. Sorry, but I know people say I pump up my guys, but Luke Sandow is handing Lucas Oskadel his green jockstrap on these shots.
Well, let's get to what I wanted to talk about, and that was Luke Sandow, who I really
What's
feel.
so funny,
and it's not Luke Sandow, like the Sandow. It's like Luke Sandow, but you can call him Sandow. It probably sounds better. We said he was going to be the dark horse. When you sent me those pictures last week before the show, I said, holy mackerel. I'm impressed with him. I think he's got density. He's got fresh muscle. He's a young guy. He had good conditioning. I had him clearly in that fourth spot.
Me too.
What is he? And you know what? I said it in my wrap-up. I think this is a victory for him, and I'll tell you why. Because now the judges have established this guy as a top 6 guy. He's in their radar now. He's not going to get overlooked anymore. He's the real deal. I think moving forward from contests from this point on, we're going to see him as a pretty much standard, as long as he comes in with the same conditioning, in the top 5 or 6 at these big shows, and I think we'll start seeing him by next year winning shows, because I think he has that kind of potential, that kind of density to his physique. He's got that kind of, when he gets hard, he's got the graininess. I think he's definitely. I think he's probably the most underrated guy of the show in this lineup.
Yeah, it's funny. He got a lot of he didn't get he didn't probably land where I would have put him fourth. But regardless, he got a lot of respect from the show. Meaning, people thought that. I mean, he's been a disaster previous to this.
Yeah, well, he never came in hard enough, and I think he arrived. I think he realized. Well, you made him acknowledge the fact that he has enough muscle. He's not going to lose muscle. He just needs to get in shape. and show that muscle off. He doesn't really need to be that much bigger. He just needs to get more graininess and more detail in his physique at this point.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He's got a ton of muscle. I mean, I talked to Ed Connors about him. Oh, by the way, Ed Connors texted me. You made a comment, I think, on our last radio show. Ed listens to everything we do, and I think you said Ed has. I don't know how you described it. I should look up the text message Ed sent me. He said, Aceto said that I'm like quirky.
I don't want.
Or something like that. Hold on. Let me see.
I want him to misquote me. Misquote him.
Yeah.
People might not even know. Ed Connors. This is how old. Ed Connors, of course, is the founder of Gold's Gym. And anyone with any potential in bodybuilding pre-internet, God only knows how Ed would find them. Ed would fly him out to California. It's just bizarre, right?
Well, and Ed owned the Gold's Gym Venice gym as well as the entire franchise for Gold's Gym.
Who gives a shit? He owned the house on the beach.
Right, but I'm saying he would bring guys in there and help them out.
What I mean? It was like a dream of bodybuilding. Like,
sure.
Oh, Ed Connors is bringing me to California. All expenses paid. Really? What are you going to do? I'm going to train. Where are you going to live? At his beach house. How are you going to get to the gym? I'm going to walk from the beach house on the beach to the best gym on earth.
Right.
I mean, it's like talk about La La Land.
Yeah. So Ed, here, this is the text message he sent me this past Tuesday. Loved hearing Chris describe my ability to find talent as, quote, bizarre. Hope Luke does well.
Bizarre. He's a savant. Ed is a savant. Like Ed could go this weekend to Belarus or something, or Czech Republic, Poland, and happen to wander in and see a bodybuilding show and see some kid and there's an 18-year-old there, reminds me of a young Jay Cutler. Sure enough, send you a picture and bang, 100% accurate.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was surprised because I interviewed Wesley Vissers, the guy who won the Classic Physique overall at the British show this last weekend and got his pro card. He's insane.
Yeah.
He's like another Chris Bumstead. I was shocked that Ed hadn't contacted him. And I'm like, did Ed contact?
Oh yeah, he's a definite Ed guy.
Yeah, he's like, no, who's Ed Connors? I'm like, oh, he'll be calling you. Don't worry about it.
That's why I just announced it to people right now. People who don't know who Ed is, because you and I think it's like talking about somebody who everybody knows.
Right. Well, we've described them before, but it's a good idea to keep her because we have a lot of new listeners, despite what anyone thinks. So, yeah, Ed Connors is got an eye for talent like no one else. He actually even said to me,
now that AMI closed down Flex Magazine, someone's got to listen to something to get some type of bodybuilding news.
He sent me a picture, Ed, also from the Arnold of him and
Talk
Corey.
about cutting back, Dave. I mean, that's epic.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Ed sent me a picture of him and Corey Everson at the airport together, and he's like, one of my first house guests. She's now 60 years old. I said, yeah, crazy how good she looks. And he's like, and she had a great personality to match. I guess, according to Ed, Corey and Jeff Everson were house guests in the early 80s. He says she was an interior designer from Wisconsin wanting to relocate.
I'm just going to tell you, from Wisconsin, yeah.
He's like, I introduced Jeff to Joe Eater. Joe hired him on the spot, and he became the editor-in-chief of Muscle and Fitness. And then Ed writes, I guess that helped Corey get 500 covers.
Yeah, she was everywhere. Huh?
Yeah, no, she's probably on more Muscle and Fitness
listen,
covers
just
than
give
anyone.
people context. When I worked at the bodybuilding camp that WIDA had in 87, 88, and 89, the bizarreness, how's this? Lee Haney had his own personal week where we featured Lee Haney. Come and live and stay at this bodybuilding camp with Lee Haney. Rich Gaspari, Barry DeMay,
Sure.
Mike Quinn, Robbie Robinson,
Right.
Corey Everson, and Bev were the only two
Women?
Yeah, women. Bev had the best instructional.
I was going to say Bev probably was the best instructor in the whole camp.
She was like a PhD doctorate and
working out.
Yeah, and so a lot of people were really surprised at her level of her ability to teach. But Corey's was the only one that would like standing room sold out. More popular than Lee Haney.
That's crazy, right? Well, she was on TV too, on that Body Shape.
She wasn't on TV yet then.
Oh, really? Well,
yeah, no, she was like Miss Olympia. But
every woman who worked out wanted to look like
covers,
her. That's why.
the 500 covers of.
because every
Thanks
woman
Ed
who
Connors.
worked out wanted to look like her at that point. That was the image, that was the look. Now there was no bikini, there was no figure, there was no fitness back then. That was bodybuilding, and that women's bodybuilding was still an attainable look that women who went to the gym wanted to look like, and that's why that was the heyday of women's bodybuilding back then.
It's so funny in retrospect to think about, like, her training style. Corey's was like volume, ridiculous volume.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Oh yeah, and she could eat like a man. I mean, she could eat.
Oh, she ate a lot of food, yeah.
Oh yeah.
She was a tall girl, wasn't she big?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
was-
Tall and skinny.
yeah.
And so she had the metabolism where she, that very few people have, where you eat and you get round from eating. and Bev would be, like a Gaspari. You know what I mean? Okay, you want to build backs? This is how you build a back.
There was a science to everything she did.
Yeah, and just the basicness of it all, and instruction on form. And
She was one of the only women who worked with Bob Grushkin, right?
yeah, excuse me. I'm coughing like Bob Gruskin.
Yeah, too many cigarettes, right?
Yeah, Bob used to call Ed all the time, by the way. Bob was like an agent.
Oh, was he? He would tell Ed who the latest talent was?
Yeah. Like, Vinny Monaco, he's 16, he's got 33-inch quads, 25-inch arms, lives with his parents out in Staten Island.
Ed would send him a plane ticket out to California.
Ooh.
Biggest disappointment of the show, John De La Rosa, 8th place. What happened to him?
Probably the biggest disappointment because, he's been... he's been a content. He's been at the New York Pro getting third. Arguably, he could have won. He just slipped in here.
I mean, does he look that much different than we saw him in the other shows?
Well, I mean,
I'm looking at the pictures on our site.
You've got a top 3 people from the Olympia.
He's just not dry hard. He's like, I don't know. Is he still too fat,
Flat.
or is he flat? Yeah,
Flat. Maybe he's flat. I think he's flat here. Let me take out the pictures. By the way, out of all the pictures I've seen, these RxMuscle pictures, I'm dead serious. Smoke everyone else's.
yeah. These are Darren Burns is amazing.
It's not the guy from the Arnold who take 45 minutes to focus.
No,
on
this is Darren, our photographer. He always does all my Australia pictures over there, and he's
Yeah,
terrific.
he's flat. He's flat through the torso, like front double when his pecs on.
Weird because he doesn't look small by any means, but he's you know his physique. You've worked with him many years prior to this, so you probably can call it better than anyone. That's why I'm asking your opinion on this one.
His
Now-
color looks off too.
We have to talk about. Well, there's 2 people we have to talk about. Number 1, let's talk about Dennis Wolf first, who finishes in 10th here. I kind of feel bad for the guy because I know he's so conditioned. He did everything he can do to get in shape for the show, for both shows, the Arnold USA and this one. He's just not big enough. He didn't get the size back yet, and it's got to be super frustrating for Dennis because here's a guy who was winning the show 3 years ago, and or I should say the at least the USA he won 3 years ago, and now he's struggling to stand with these guys because he doesn't have enough mass. That's got to be super frustrating for him.
Yeah, I just, I saw him 2 weeks ago. I thought that he just is too small.
Yeah,
Which means, but it means, I mean, I don't know if he's going to get it, be able to get it back because, what, I said 2 things. I said, a neck injury is not an ankle injury. Mm-hmm. And I told you Jeff King's whole career was from a car accident and a neck injury. That was it. People used to beg him, oh, come on, Jeff, you can still do it.
Right.
Everything's still basically there, and you can still basically train most of the time sort of hard. And, if you're going to go balls to the walls all the time, you can't be worried about pain and...
Right.
He's as lean as anyone there.
Yeah, I'm looking at the pictures, though. I don't see a symmetry issue. How when you have some kind of a nerve injury, like one side's a little bigger than the other, he's symmetrical. He's just not big enough yet. So I don't know if he hasn't put the size on. But then again, is he not putting the size back on because he can't train heavy anymore? That's the question.
Well, how much time has he really had to get it back? Well, we said this too. Or I said it. You know, Dexter could take... A short guy can get muscle back for way faster than someone who's 6'2", 6'1".
Right.
You know, like a Wolf or someone who's a mass monster. You know, and he was traditionally a mass monster. And, you know, sometimes when you pull the plug on that momentum of training and eating and training, you know how when you're big, you were big.
Yeah.
You're eating 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somebody who's...
Well, Milo said it. You lose
Dexter can miss 3 days of eating and still have good roundness. Someone who's like Dave Palumbo at 290 missed 3 days of eating, or Wolf missed 3 days of eating, or Cutler or Coleman 3 days of eating. You down 15 pounds.
Yeah.
And it sounds bizarre, but it's like you got to be pushing the envelope with staying big, getting big. When you're a big wide guy or a big tall guy or a big tall and wide guy all the time, or once that momentum's gone, it's hard to get that train moving again.
Now, Milos told us that. Remember he was saying when he did like 400 shows in a row, and then he stopped for like a month of competing or 2 months of competing, and he couldn't get it back. He couldn't even want to go back to it anymore. He lost that to the drive to do it. Maybe Wolf doesn't have the drive anymore. I don't know.
Well, if for God's sakes, Milos, if you can take Hyde and put 40 pounds on him, then you've worked with Wolf. What's the difference?
Yeah, I think Wolf better go back to the Milos insulin protocol. If he wants to put the size back on.
Look at the Wolf of 2007. That was the Milos product.
Yeah. Well, he's not a young man anymore. It does sometimes the craziness things that people do don't work after a while. Let's talk about the person that we all want to talk about, which is Kevin Levrone, who finishes second to last here. This is, once again, no one knew what Kevin looked like going into the show. We saw obviously he would walk around in some tank tops and hit some shots and some sleeveless shirts. No one ever saw his legs, which I knew was going to be a disaster. If we weren't seeing them, then he probably wasn't very happy with the way they were progressing. We saw videos of him squatting a lot of weight and leg pressing a lot of weight. But we didn't really see what the legs looked like. And, to me, I hear people saying that he was worse than he was at the Olympia a year and a half ago. I don't know about that.
He wasn't as tight.
He wasn't as hard. He certainly was bigger, but his legs weren't much better, in my estimation. What do you think?
No, the legs didn't, how many radio shows do you have to listen to where someone who used to be 290 say, which would be you, not me, that the first thing to go with age is your legs.
Flex Wheeler said it. Sean Ray said it. I hate to give him credit, but yeah, a lot of these top guys admitted it. Look, the first thing we started noticing that we're coming down in size as we hit 40 was legs. It was hard to maintain those, and Kevin obviously had a knee injury, which is not helping. He probably didn't train his legs for 10 years, knowing him. Probably when he was off and he decided, after he retired, and so it's hard to get those things back, especially when you have an injury you're dealing with. You know what I've noticed, because I was up until my stupid quad injury, I was still squatting, and I wasn't doing heavy weight anymore, but my body just hurt when I was squatting. Like it wasn't. It felt good afterwards.
Sitting.
It felt good afterwards, like after the work. Oh, I got the workout done, but while I was doing it was just like, oh, this feels like a lot of weight, It doesn't feel like light anymore. It's like my spine doesn't want to doesn't want to handle that kind of weight on it anymore. And I think that comes with age. I think when age, your spine compresses, it doesn't have as much resiliency. I don't think there's as much fluid in there, cushioning everything. And the idea right now, even if my quad was good, I don't think I would even want to go back to squatting, to be honest with you, because it is a lot of pressure on that spine, and as you get older, your whole body's not as resilient. But you know what? I said it in my wrap-up. This was a victory for Levrone in the sense that he basically spent the last 2 years going on a social media marketing campaign for himself. No one really even was talking about Levrone. He was probably the most popular, most talked about guy over the last 2.5 years, ever since he announced at that Pittsburgh Pro Show that he was going to make a comeback in bodybuilding at the Olympia that year. And even since then, he's if Levrone posts something on Instagram, if he goes on YouTube, if he does an interview, it gets a lot of traction. It gets a lot of hits. People like to hear this guy talk. And I have a feeling he made a lot of money over the last couple of years because of this. So, chalk it up as a great marketing move on his part. And I'm sure he would have liked to have won a pro show and would have liked to get that physique that he had back. But I don't necessarily think that was his goal. I think his goal was, hey, I got to make a living. And this is a good way to spark my career and get people interested in me again. Mm-hmm. And it worked. It worked like a charm. He's very popular. His brand is huge in Europe. If you look at his followers on Instagram and Facebook, it's crazy. And anything he puts up, people want to watch, and hear him talk. So, I talked to him a little bit. He texted me right before the show, and he said, Dave, after the show, we'll do an interview, and I'll tell you everything. So I said, okay. Which, when he told me that, I had a feeling that he wasn't, he didn't want to really talk about or make predictions about the show because obviously he probably knew he wasn't at his best. But once again, I want to hear from his perspective what, his strategy was from day one of making that announcement in Pittsburgh, because I think it was more than just, hey, I want to try to win a pro show. What do you feel?
I think that I disagree. I think that he thought he could come back and win a pro show.
Right, but the first time. But after he saw himself on the Olympia stage, do you think he really thought that he was going to come back and win a show after that? I mean,
after that, I still think that he might have thought that I didn't train my legs hard the first time around,
right? And
now I'm going to train, my legs hard, and they're going to come back.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that when he was like over the last 2 weeks, do you think he was looking at himself in the mirror and seeing himself pose and saying, hey, I can do this, I can win this?
I don't know. That's a good question for him. That's a really good question. Because sometimes when you look in the mirror, you see the progress that you're making. I mean, clearly, you see the progress that you're making, and in relation to where you came from, it's impressive. But you don't have Bonac legs.
No. The skin just is not as resilient.
Well, the muscle's not there. I mean, with skin, you got to stand next to Bonac. Those are big legs, dude, from the side and from behind.
Do you think he had guys in his corner there telling him, hey, you look great, you look great, you look great?
Listen, you know what the problem with Instagram is? Here, you post a picture of yourself, say, bro, I had you second. I'm not saying LeBron, right?
Right.
Next one is, killed it, bro, all politics.
Yeah.
Third person on Instagram, guy who's like 400 pounds on a computer screen saying, like pretend, he's called like ripped number 9. He says like, hands most muscular, destroyed Dexter.
Uh-huh.
So, it's easy to get caught up in opinions.
Right. His side chest is...
Are there people in the olden days, there are people in your little inner circle who may have, just to be in your inner circle, they like to tell you what you like to hear.
Man. You got yes man.
Now, all Instagram, there's 2 people on Instagram, right? You post your picture up, and then everyone says you look great, and then there's other people come in and say, you look like shit. Right. Even if you look absolutely incredible, they say, oh, you look like shit, or, your penis is too small for your thighs.
Steroids, Synthol,
Meanwhile, the guy's, ripped to the bone 50, and he's behind his computer screen, and he's like,
right.
You remember the twins who used to drive the motorcycles in the Guinness Book of World Record?
Yeah, 2 fat guys.
They were the world's fattest twins.
Yeah, only you and I know that reference. Probably no one else out there probably knows it. I used to study that book, the Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, how much was the fattest guy? I think he was like 813 pounds, right? Remember? No, not the twins. The twins were only
the fattest guy was
Calhoun,
was over 1,000 pounds. But the twins were the fattest twins, and they were like 800 apiece riding that motorcycle. Remember?
Yeah, and they both had the little motorcycle. And I always used to think when I was little, why are they driving mini bikes? And my brother finally told me. He said they're so fat and big that those bikes look like they're, mini bikes.
Now they got that show Amanda watches all the time, My 600-Pound Life, where they get these people who are like 600 plus pounds, and they can't walk, and they they go to this doctor in Texas who does these, stomach stapling surgeries or whatever he does, and he gets them to lose weight, and they're a wreck. These people, I mean, complete wreck. It's an interesting show, but it's like it's one thing to be overweight. It's another thing to be like 800 pounds, 600 pounds. I mean, there's some kind of psychological problem there. It's not just metabolic at that point.
Well, it becomes metabolic by definition because your metabolism, once you hit 800, is dead.
Pretty much, yeah. And the funny thing is that these people can't get out of bed, and their relatives are bringing them junk food.
I know, that's the craziest thing.
I would just I would be bringing them 6 asparagus spears with a chicken breast, and if they didn't like it, then they wouldn't eat it. That would be the end of it. And they'd have to lose enough weight to get out of bed before they could actually do anything about it. That's how I would handle it.
They eventually have to take chainsaws to the people's houses and
cut them out of the walls down to get them out of there. That's always my favorite part, when they have to come and move these people, and they have like 40 people come, and they have like these stretchers that can hold like an elephant, and it's hysterical. The whole they have to like strategize. They have they have to meet in the kitchen, and they have to figure out how they're going to get the person out of the house. That to me, that's the only part I really want to watch. After that, I lose interest in the rest of the show. So. Look, it was a great. I got to tell you, Tony Doherty throws a great show, and this is maybe one of the better Arnold Australia's, or which used to be the Australia Grand Prix that I've seen. The lineup was great. Tony does a great job with the athletes. For those of you, I'll get Tony on. We'll have to do a wrap up of the show so he can give us all the insights. But Tony is he has the athletes picked up. He puts them up in a nice hotel. He feeds them. He's got food, unlimited food. Like, these athletes don't have to cook anything. He's got chicken breasts and potatoes, and he's got rice. Anything that these guys want, he has available for them, because he's about the athletes. He's always been that way.
He is about the athletes.
He shuttles them to the gym if they need to go to the gym. There's nothing he won't do for the athletes. And to me, that's a great promoter. This Tony Doherty is got to be one of the top 3 promoters in the world right now. And
who's he most loyal to for bodybuilders? This is a trivia question.
Well, I know he was very, very good friends with Sonny Schmidt back in the day.
Oh, well, no. Well, yeah, because he's from Australia, but keep going. American bodybuilder. Non-Australian. That's...
Oh, who he's most loyal to?
First person when he said, I'm going to have a pro show, who said, the first person he ever said, he asked a bunch of people, and this person said, this pro, I'm in. And he was.
Oh, I don't know. Who?
Cormier.
Oh, yeah, he does love Cormier. Because Cormier came and did his show back in the day when no one was
doing that's what I mean. Cormier said, I'm in.
Well, you know what?
It was a big deal. He's like, really? You're in? He said, yeah, I'll do your show.
I interviewed Vince Taylor. It'll be up on the site this week.
He's a freak.
Vince Taylor, you want to talk about comebacks. No one ever mentions this, but Vince Taylor made a comeback at over 50 years of age, and he did that Australian Grand Prix, and he was out of the game for a number of years, and he placed 3rd, if you remember, and qualified for the Olympia that year.
He looked incredible that year.
Yeah. I said, Vince, it's kind of ironic, because I asked him about what he thought about the Levrone comeback. I said, you guys were almost the same age. No one even talked about the fact that you successfully made a comeback and placed top 3 at a pro show and qualified for the Olympia that year. That's got to be the greatest.
50 or 50?
He was over 50. Yeah, he was over 50. He was about 51, I think. And Levrone is doing it at the same show. I mean, if you think about it. And Levrone was a failure, his comeback. So I said, Vince, I mean, think about what you did. It was. I don't want to give away the interview.
Ask him. Oh, well, you already did the interview, but did you ask him who's his biggest ripoff? He considers who ripped off his routines.
There was a lot of rip-offs of his routine. Well,
Kamali
ripped it off.
Yeah, Kamali. Yeah.
Yeah, Kamali.
If you ask Vince, he was pissed.
I think Kamali might have done a better job than Vince did.
Although Vince was the first. That.
I think Kamali's...
No, he had so what he did, he had a Terminator routine, because people don't know.
Yeah.
And when the Terminator was a big deal, Vince Taylor had a routine that mimicked the Terminator, and people went nuts.
Right. The funny
Kamali did a good Persian version of it.
Persian version. The funny thing about Kamali's version is that Kamali claims, when I had him interviewed him a couple weeks ago, that he did not prepare a routine. He would just go out there and wing it. He would have someone put the music together, and then he would just wing it on stage. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I believe it.
Okay.
I believe it. If you're an entertainer, you're an entertainer.
Levrone said he never prepared a routine either. He used to just go out there and wing it also, just pose to the music. If I did that, I would look like Howard Stern out there, trying to pose. I have no natural rhythm. I'm like, everything's got to be completely rehearsed with me. I have to prepare it in my mind. I have to prepare it. I have to go over it 100,000 times. Once I get it down, I'm good at it. But I'm not like a natural when it comes to that. Like, you know how like you go to these weddings and they want you to do the hustle or the couple dance moves.
Yeah.
They teach you a few steps. I can't learn anything. I'm like, what did they? I don't know. I don't even. How many steps to the right? I can't do it. Now, if I knew the dance before I got there, people would think I was John Travolta on stage. But
yeah. Well, you need to practice.
Yeah, I need.
Yeah, you can't wing it. You can't impromptu.
No. But Kamali said he was a break dancer.
Well, you impromptu a radio show every week. You've got nothing prepared ever.
Yeah, but I practiced it for 15 years before I've been doing radio shows. It took me 10, 15 years before I could wing radio shows. Before I would have 400 notes in front of me. I knew every word I was going to say before I said it.
I can see it now, all your sticky notes and notes.
Oh, I was a nervous wreck when I first started doing radio shows because, everyone's going to listen to this. I got Romano and I would do this show on MD. It was called the Noble Radio Show. We started that. And John wouldn't prepare anything. It was just me. I would prepare everything. I have all the notes. John would just roll out of bed and call in, And so I had to, make sure I had everything. Because otherwise, what would we talk about,
Yeah. Well, whatever John wanted to talk about. That's usually what it...
Right, but my point is that, there were certain things we had to cover.
About,
we had agendas. Like, Blackman had, a list of all the things I had to talk
about.
Of course. You got to mention that Kai's. You got to talk about Kai's glutes, and you got to talk about
he reminds me a million times what to talk about.
Make sure you mention that Victor just had a kid, and that he's going to be
who's on the cover of the next issue.
Right. Make sure you tell Evan Centopani's on the cover. I gave him his first chance.
Page 49, we're talking about fish oils in the next issue.
I have a good fish oil research article I'm going to talk about. Speaking of fish oil, I just want to just run through the other categories. Fitness was won by Kate Arrington, who narrowly edged out Bethany Wagner. Figure was won by Candice Lewis Carter, who just won the Arnold 2 weeks ago. She beat Sydney Gillen again, who's our Olympia champ. So here, let me just go over the history of this figure division over the last couple of years because it's really exciting. Latoya Watts finally won the Olympia a couple of years ago. She won 2 times in a row. Then she lost the Arnold last year to Candice Lewis. When the Olympia came around, everyone thought it was going to be a two-girl battle between Candice and Latoya, and it turns out Sydney Gillen wound up showing up better, and she won. Candice was second. Going into the Arnold this year, Latoya didn't do the show. Once again, Candice versus Sydney. Candice wins at the USA Arnold, and then she repeats here again. She looks amazing. I mean, you got to see it. I'm sure you've seen the pictures. Just tremendous physique. Matter of fact, she probably would have won the Olympia had she not been a little bit off in September. I know you're a big fan of both of theirs, Chris. Who do you like at their best? Who's the better figure competitor
between
Sydney and Candice?
I think
because you were very high on Candice. I mean, on Sydney.
On Sydney. Yeah. I was crazy high on Sydney because I think she looked like when she won, she looked like a Y, and I think that's important. No, it's important. She looks like a Y. Big delts, just enough muscle to her legs, great conditioning. The craziest speed taper, but Candice seems to have tightened up enough more where now she looks like a wacky X, if that makes sense.
X-frame,
yeah. And she's got more of an X-frame, and when she's not spot ridiculously on the money, she looks bottom heavy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so, for her to be able to beat Sydney, she has to come in super lean, so that she doesn't look bottom heavy. She didn't look bottom heavy, for example, in Ohio, and I had her winning, which if you had asked me coming into the show, is anyone going to beat Sydney, I'd say absolutely no way.
Yeah, no, I agree with that analysis perfectly. See, who said that Chris doesn't know anything about figure? See?
Who I like, but I'm just kidding. No, because they're very, I mean, they're so impressive.
Yeah, I mean, and they're light years ahead of the other competitors in this lineup. It's like the two of them and then everyone else. Not to take any air out of the, the other competitors. Michelle Pinto finished third. Carly Horrell in fourth, and Ivana Vucic in fifth. So it was a very difficult lineup, but those two are just like in another league of their own. Likewise, in the bikini division, Angelica Teixeira wins again. She's our Olympia champ. She won the Arnold USA 2 years in a row, and she wins here again. A lot of people thought, however, Janet Laig, who is placed second, should have won this show. Now, Janet has upset Olympia champs here before. She beat Courtney King. Oh, no, was it Courtney King? There's so many bikini champs that are out there that I'm not even sure anymore. But I happen to like Janet's physique. She's taller. She's taller than Angelica. And here's the thing with bikini. Bikini comes down to personal preference. It's not like who's got bigger glutes and who's got bigger arms and who's got bigger delts. You can't use that in bikini. So it's kind of like, what do you like? And that, to me, makes it very hard to judge. And I think that's why you kind of lose interest a lot of times in a lot of these shows as well, because it is hard to judge these things.
Well, you know what? Because to the average person, the average person could pick out. My mother-in-law probably could pick out, or my grandmother could probably pick out Roelly, Dexter, and Bonac, right?
Right.
And in the bikini, they might pick the girl who's 17th.
Right, because they just happen to like that look better.
So and it's hard to argue with them and say, no, let me tell you, Grandma, the reason why the girl who won. And you get into these like intangibles. Whereas funny how they can pick the top three, and they in the bodybuilding they could care less about it. They probably could pick the top three in classic and the board shorts division as well.
Exactly. Well, congratulations to those ladies. Angelica wins here. Janet second. Romina Basualdo third. Margaret Nahr fourth. And Sheena Martin in the fifth position. Another Arnold Australia down the tubes in a successful weekend here. So congratulations to Tony and all the winners. And I'm sure we'll be having some people on the show over the next couple of weeks. I'd like to get Candace on, talk to her a little bit. And maybe we'll get... I wonder if Roelly is on the contract with anyone. I don't know if he is.
Flex Magazine.
I don't think so.
He's under contract with them for that one issue.
There's no issues left, so what kind of contract are they on?
Why cut back, Dave? Why?
John Romano and I and Lee Priest did a whole... we did a whole Iron Rage on where the magazines are going and heading now. The Flex Magazine has closed shop, so if you guys haven't seen that, you might want to check that out as well. I want to bring up an interesting article that came out. I gotta credit Shelby Starnes for sending it to me because I didn't see it. I always have people that look for stuff online for me, and I don't know if they look for me, but they always send it over to me because they know that I'm interested in all this stuff, and I don't sometimes have time to find all these articles. But the title of the article is Omega-3 Fatty Acid Levels Could Be Better Than Cholesterol in Predicting Mortality. They can actually, I didn't know they can do this, they can actually detect your omega-3 fatty acid levels in the cell membranes of your red blood cells. Now, I want to preface this, Chris, because a lot of people ask, I'm a big advocate of essential fats in the diet. Obviously, I make a great product called OmegaLyze that contains your omega-3s and 6s in the right ratios and the right amounts, containing fish oil, primrose oil. And I'm always banging people to make sure they take enough essential fats in their diet. And what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of people think, that's good for health, but who gives a shit? How does that apply to bodybuilding? Well, you got to remember, when you break down muscle tissue, in the gym, the internal component of the muscle, is made up of predominantly protein, and that's why you need to eat a lot of protein to repair that. But all the membranes, all the cell membranes that surround these muscle cells are made up of essential fats, specifically omega-3 fats. And so if you're deprived of omega-3 fats, you're not going to repair muscle cell membranes at optimal levels, and that could lead to stagnation and can prevent you from gaining muscle at the rate that you should be gaining at. And a lot of people don't realize that. That's an important factor. So the way they detect omega-3 fatty acid levels in a person's body is by testing the levels of EPA-DHA, which is the omega-3 intermediates that are important. They look at them in the membranes of all the red blood cells in the body. Remember, the red blood cells are constantly being rehashed every 120 days. They die and they're replaced. So they can kind of every 3 months get a good idea of what your EPA-DHA levels are in your blood. And they did a study at the University of Nottingham in England. They analyzed 2,500 people, which is a significant study. They analyzed the 2,500 people that were in that original. Remember the Framingham heart study that they did in 1948?
Is that still going on? I think it really is.
It probably
right?
is. Yeah, they got Framingham, Massachusetts. They took people. It's kind of like an isolated little population there, and they watched these people as from kids to adulthood till they died. And see their patterns of eating. And it's a huge study. A lot of people who've gone to college have heard about the Framingham study. But they went back and they looked at all these records because they're pretty accurate. And the subjects had an average age of 66 years old at the time of the new study. So you're right, there is a new study. And they didn't have any form of cardiovascular disease. Okay. And what they did was they documented their findings and followed the participants for 7 years, measuring the levels of the EPA, DHA, omega-3 fats that they had in their body. And they also saw how it correlated to them dying of developing either heart disease, cancer, or any other illness. Those who consumed the most omega-3 fats were 33% less likely to die during the study period than those who consumed the least. So that's very, very significant. Okay, now this is regardless of how they died. They're talking about just developing heart disease. Furthermore, those who had a higher omega-3 index, or the amount of combined EPA, DHA in their red blood cell membranes, like I said, that's how they measure the amount in your body, were found to be at less risk for cardiovascular and coronary heart disease and strokes. Okay. Previous research had also suggested that higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids could reduce a person's risk of death. Okay. Now I want to just get to this one other really good part. When baseline serum cholesterol levels were substituted for omega-3 levels in the body, in the same model, the former, meaning the cholesterol levels, were not significantly associated with any of the outcomes. So what they were saying was cholesterol levels didn't really dictate death or development of heart disease as accurately as what the omega-3 levels of these people, their body levels of omega-3 fatty acids were. Now, that's huge. That means you can, if you take in more omega-3 fats, you're way less likely to die of heart disease, 33% less likely. And it doesn't even matter what your cholesterol is. Now, more than likely, Chris, if you're taking in enough omega-3s, your cholesterol levels will probably be much better than the average person. Okay, we know that for sure. So I think that that's a really significant study, and I think it's significant. I'll tell you why, especially for bodybuilders. Because our cholesterol levels, when we take steroids, get skewed. And a lot of people, my gut instinct always told me, Chris, that skewed blood level of maybe your HDLs being too high, your LDLs being too high, and your HDLs being too low. I always thought that was not a good predictor of anything, because I think the steroids just mess up the numbers. It's not a good indicator of what your level of coronary heart disease risk is. I just knew it for bodybuilders, because once again, because of what steroids do. But now we have something that can actually measure. If you're a bodybuilder and you're on steroids and you're taking high amounts of these omega-3 fats, you're taking a product like ROELLY'S on a regular basis, you're probably protecting yourself coronary vascular wise, okay, way more than what your cholesterol, levels on blood work is indicating. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, yes.
Okay, so here's another good reason why you want to make sure you're taking enough fish oil, and why you want to make sure you're taking.
Then you did give.
Who'd you give the credit to? Because there's another guy who gets angry when you don't just give credit. Who's that guy?
There's a lot of people who do. I don't think he's talked to me since then. Has he?
I don't know.
I'm trying to think who got mad.
I don't know.
He's
I don't know. Everyone's always mad at me, so it doesn't really matter. But here's a good reason, guys, to make sure that you get enough essential fatty acids in. Okay, and if you're not taking it in your diet, take a supplement. It's so easy. It's an insurance policy. I always say this. It's an insurance policy on your health. You take 3 ROELLY'S pills twice a day, with your meals, and you don't have to worry. Okay. If you're getting enough fats in your diet, okay? Enough essential fats, I should say. But if you're not getting enough, number one, from a bodybuilding perspective, you're not going to recover well from your workouts and you're not going to grow at optimal levels. But now we have a really good indicator that if you get enough of these things in your bloodstream, it'll protect you against heart disease better than whatever your cholesterol levels are indicating on your blood work. So that's huge. And I thought that this study was tremendous, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know that the people who listen to this show on a regular basis, Chris, really use us as their source of information, because doctors don't know this stuff. They're too far behind. By the time the doctors start telling people about this, it'll be 10 years from now, if at all, you know. By the time the American Heart Association acknowledges this, it might be 20 years from now, you know.
No, yeah, 100% true. I mean, that's
you know that. I know that.
Yeah,
you know, it's pretty standard hat for our medical community here. They don't want to admit anything because they don't want you to stop taking your statins and all the heart medication that they want to give you on a regular basis. I wouldn't take a statin if you paid me, to be honest with you. I don't care what anyone says. And I've talked about this on Ask Dave before. You know, my cardiologist out here, he's a great guy. He works out. He told me that the main reason why statins work is not because they inhibit cholesterol synthesis, because we all know that that's not the cause of heart disease. They work because they're anti-inflammatories. The main reason why people get coronary artery disease is excessive, chronic inflammation in the body.
Yeah.
And there's so many better ways of reducing chronic inflammation, like taking in essential fatty acids, okay? Taking in good monounsaturated fats like macadamia nut oil, extra virgin olive oil, if you can find any real. That's the way to reduce inflammation in the body. You know, my Omega-Ly's product has another ingredient in there called palmitoleic acid, which is a omega-7 fat, which is a tremendous reducer of C-reactive protein, which is the indicator of inflammation in the body. So, once again, you can stay healthy and be a bodybuilder using steroids, okay? Obviously, does steroids increase your risk of heart disease? Yeah, they could. But there's a million things in life that do. Smoking, drinking, way more than steroids. So you can counteract a lot of the negative ramifications of some of the stuff that we do by doing smart things, like taking the easiest thing being taking a good essential fatty acid supplement. And that's my rant on that. I don't want to rant on and on and on about it, but I think it's important, Chris, because people just don't get it sometimes, and they get bamboozled by these doctors, or they don't know, and I think it's our responsibility to educate people. Now, there's this New Zealand show is coming up next weekend. That's Mo Omasawi's show. He's got 212, which Tony Doherty didn't have in Australia, and he's got Classic and Men's Physique. So that should be exciting. They got some good. I see Breon Ansley on the poster. I don't know if he's in the show though. I don't know if the competitor list has been released for that show. That show really grew. Remember that was like a joke after show.
Yeah,
now
it's
like grown into a real show.
It was like an outlier.
I think it's great. I think Mo did a great job of that. I'm glad that he kept at it and he didn't give up. And so.
Have you been to New Zealand?
I have, actually. You want to hear something funny?
Of course you have.
It was by accident.
See, that was. I mean, I just posted today. In the olden days, I would have got to go with you to one of those shows. But.
In 2012, Aaron Singerman and I, Aaron was working for me, we went to Australia to cover the Australian Grand Prix, and then I went and I took him with me on a tour. I had a distributor at the time who was distributing all my Species nutrition supplements there, and we went to. Seriously, we must have gone to 8 different states in Australia, like in 7 days, and we ended in New Zealand, in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'll never. We had a good time. It was raining. It was pouring raining there that for some reason, and it was during the winter, our winter, but it was their summer. It was raining, and we couldn't do anything. So we actually. The first day we got there, that was the day of Mo's show, because it was the week after the Australia show. So we actually went and saw the show. Kai Green guest posed there. I actually filmed the whole thing, and I put it on RxMuscle at the time. That was the highlight of the show, pretty much. I think him and someone else did. I can't remember who else was there with him. I don't know if it was Victor and Kai. It was definitely Kai. And Aaron and I we went bowling. Across the street from the hotel we were staying, there was like this big, huge game room building, and we went there. We bowled. I hadn't bowled in I don't even know how long, and I was nursing my quad. I had just gotten my quad fixed or something like that, and I wasn't.
Blast taken, by the way, Logan bowling.
Yeah.
Your son, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. I still, my quad still isn't healed. It's how long? 6 years later.
All right, so you're bowling in New Zealand.
I bowled in New Zealand. Yeah, that was my excitement. But yeah, anyway, that was when he first started the show, and it was like in a little auditorium, and it was like him emceeing and doing everything, and it was. I'm like, man, this guy, there's these fans here love it. I said, Mo, I hope you keep up with this. He goes, oh, I'm not giving up on the show, and now it's grown into a big, huge thing. So, congratulations to him. So that's coming up this weekend. That's. Like I said, that gives the other classes that weren't represented at the Arnold Australia, gives them a way to, I guess, compete overseas. So that was exciting. And what else is coming up? There's another show coming up. Oh, my friend Tom Kemper, the NPC Upper Midwest. He's got a pro division too. He's got the IFBB Candace Carter Upper Midwest Pro Figure and Classic Physique Pro. So I might get him on the TV show too. The reason I mentioned Tom Kemper is I actually guest posed for him in 2002 at the very first show in Fargo, North Dakota. You remember that movie Fargo they had? You ever see that with all the weirdos?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was in Fargo twice, I think. Was it there twice? Yeah, I think I went there twice to guest pose. And so he's, I can't believe the show's still, it's been 16 years the show's been going on. And Dave Palumbo there's the trivia question. Dave Palumbo guest posed at the first one. That's going to be coming up this weekend as well. So there's a lot of pro competition out there on the docket. John Lindsay always has a show it seems like John Lindsay has a show every weekend. He's got some kind of show this weekend as well. Tim Gardner's got a show too. Hold on, let me see this. The Atlantic Coast Championships will be this weekend as well. Pro-Am. And who else has got a show this weekend? I don't want to leave anyone out. Whenever I leave one person out, I get a phone call, I get an email from someone saying, "Oh, how come you didn't mention my show?" I don't want to do that. John Lindsay does have a show. I was right. The Fit World, Culver City. Mm-hmm. Unless you went to Venice Golds, and stayed out there, you would never know what Culver City is, right?
Correct.
Culver City's like right next to Venice. That's where John always has all his shows. He probably has that high school auditorium locked down for the next 100 years. He probably got a contract with them, I'm sure.
Yeah, he'll be 200.
Exactly. And he'll still be alive too. That's the funny thing.
He'll still be promoting the best shows out there.
He's definitely got the most shows of anyone else out there.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. It's insane.
Yep. So that's all she wrote. That was my itinerary. That's on my list of no notes. I actually had a couple notes today, but I wrote. You want to know what my notes were? My notes were March 19, 2018, Arnold Aussie wrap-up and omega-3 fats. That was my notes.
Good. You spent a lot of time preparing for the show.
Oh my God. I actually I want to just promote a couple more things. Hold on. I have my new guru course, the Secrets of Becoming a Diet Guru course, set for.
But you got to get people to sign up, by the way, for the YouTube station.
Yeah, well, we have 100.
Because someone had texted me that and said, "Chris, tell Dave at the end of the radio show,
right,
put in a plug for the YouTube station."
Yeah, the RxMuscle YouTube channel. Obviously, subscribe. We have over 110,000 subscribers. By the way, I haven't received my silver button in the mail. I don't know if I have to do anything.
I think they went up to 200 now.
Yeah, no, I think I have to do something to actually get.
You have to do something.
I don't know what to do, though. If anyone out there knows, there's a couple of guys who have over 100,000. Maybe you guys can tell me what to do to get my button so I can show everyone that I have a lot of people who listen to me, or at least pretend to listen to me. So anyway, I got the Secrets of Becoming a Diet Guru course, my 10-hour seminar where I go over everything pretty much related to diet, off-season, pre-contest, drug cycles, supplements, you name it, we go over it. Site injection oils, detoxification, how to write diets, off-season, pre-contest. And so that will be given on the 9th of June. That's a Saturday here in Cape Coral, Florida. You can go to DavePalumbo.com and sign up for that. Make sure that you don't wait till the last minute because we will book up pretty quickly. The class, we've already got a couple signups already. I just put it up. So it's usually June is a popular time of year. So make sure if you're going to sign up, don't wait. Like I said, I don't want to have to tell you we're booked already. But I kind of keep you guys updated from week to week anyway. Mm-hmm. What else did I want to promote? The Dave Palumbo Experience app. Oh, that's been very popular. Chris, I have an app called the Dave Palumbo Experience app. I know I've talked about it before, but it's pretty much contains all the videos and articles I've ever written and all the videos I've done, plus new content that's constantly put up. And I think the feature that people like the most on there is that I answer everyone's questions. So if you're an app member for $29 a month, you can ask unlimited questions. I answer them on the app. I take the best ones and I do a very private Q&A video just for the app members that goes up once a week. The great thing about me answering questions is that all the questions, whether you ask them or you don't ask them, are available for all the app members to listen to. So they get a lot more Ask Dave than the general public does in that app. And any suggestions that are made there, I always will contribute the content that people want. If they want to know how to diet for a vegan, I'll put a vegan diet up there. And so there's a lot of content on there. It's a great reference type of thing. If you're trying to learn and you're trying to constantly educate yourself, it's a great for the price of a gym membership. You get all the information from me. Matter of fact, I sometimes go in there to learn. I forget. I'm like, I got to go read my app. I got to go watch some videos on there to polish up on
refresh
my information. Exactly. Chris, can you believe we're already into almost the end of March? It's scary insane. How fast time goes.
It's insane. It's insane.
I on a non-bodybuilding note, I bought my Amanda and I bought Logan a car, a Mercedes. Yeah. It's a Mercedes kids car. I think I told you I talked about it in last week's about the
battery powered, right?
The defective ones. Yeah, I got. Well, I decided forget Amazon because they were sending me other people's old crap. I got two lemons, basically. Now you have the lemon law. I got two of them. Sure. Right? I sent them back to Amazon. Thank God they take everything back, but relatively easy. And I went on the Walmart. Walmart has got an interesting website. They're kind of becoming like the Amazon.com. They sell stuff on their website that they don't even have in the store. They're becoming more of an online site, which is kind of cool. I noticed they sell Species Nutrition on there, but I don't sell it to them, so they must be buying it from one of my distributors. Yeah. But they sell a kids, once again, battery-operated car that they can drive up to 5 miles an hour, backwards and forwards. They sell it, but it's from Mercedes. So it's actually a real Mercedes-made kids car. Now, it's not thousands of dollars. It's like, I think it was like, we paid like $400 or something like that for this thing. But it's a little more expensive than the other cars. But it's made by Mercedes. I'm like, you know what? If Mercedes made this, it's got to be German engineered. It's not going to be broken. So we ordered the car. I'm like, I'm going to spend a few more bucks. Ordered the car. Came the other day. Amanda was putting it together tonight. This car is unbelievable. If I was a kid and I had this, I would be like flabbergasted. This thing looks like it's a real Mercedes. It's got like a little iPad in there with you can listen to music, you can watch videos on it. Not that you should be driving and watching videos, but it has that potential. It's like a convertible. It's the SLS supercar that Mercedes makes. It's all blacked out. It's got floor mats. This thing is like so amazing that I wish I was small enough to get into it. I'm going to send you a picture. I'm going to do a video tomorrow. I'm going to send you a picture of it. I'll take a picture privately for you after I get off.
I hope it's not like a real Mercedes when it breaks down. It costs like $5,000 to fix it.
Oh, Amanda said it's on her Instagram. You can check her Instagram. She said you know how to. That's the only thing you know how to use.
I'll tag her and say I'm going to. I tagged her because I said I like the good old days when me and Dave used to be able to travel when we didn't have as many kids as we have now. Could go to Melbourne. I know she didn't find it funny, but the irony is, within 20 minutes, Kamal El Gardni, who's now a hero in Libya, called me and said, "Would you like to go to Libya? All expenses paid, first class." Private jet.
Private jet, first class.
Yeah. That first private jet.
If you could create a machine that would stop time, Chris, we could probably go.
I
shut it down for a couple days.
I had to turn him down. I said, I can't. Wow. I get the kids.
Who was paying, Libya, or was he paying?
Libya was paying.
Wow. Libya was going to fly the.
So I actually said this, Amanda, listening in the background. I said, I can't go, but Dave Palumbo can go.
You know what, though, Chris? If
he got my humor.
Yeah.
But he said he can barely go because he's got kids.
Right. Well, he's living in the UK
got too many,
now. Yeah.
And he's got and he can barely go. He had to get permission from his wife to go.
Yeah.
I said, that's the world we live in, Kamal, these days. In the old days, would just ship right out. We wouldn't even ask.
You know, Chris, I have
a man could be a man. Now you have to ask your wife.
I got people all the time asking me to come do Bros versus Pros, and they'll pay for everything, and
yeah.
I have to turn a lot of people down because I have a young baby now. I can't do it. Now, look, if someone
you have
wants
two babies.
Right, two babies.
Two babies.
If someone wants to, offer
one shoulder, one knee, and two babies.
Well, in the old days, I would go for no money. Basically, I would just go for expenses. Now it has to be profitable because my time is money right now. So I can't just go for free anymore. So when I do go to these shows, people are paying for us to be there. And look, after all, I deserve to get paid to work. So do the people who I bring with me. I got to pay my video guy. I got to pay, my commentator. So it's not. I can't do everything I used to do anymore. Like when I was.
You'd be like Bob Gruskin. I'm cutting back.
Yeah.
I'm cutting. That's what
Why
he used to say.
Back? Yeah.
No, he. You know what? Oh my goodness.
The difference between Bob is Bob wasn't married and Bob didn't have any kids.
Before Bleckman used the infamous verbiage, why cut back?
Yeah.
Bob Gruskin used to say, I'm cutting back. I'm cutting back. I'm not going to all these shows. But you know what? He wouldn't cut back.
No, I know. Well, but he also didn't have any kids and wasn't married.
Did you tell me he's still prepping people?
He probably is. Someone told me that he was helping them with something. He helps like from afar now, I think.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you live close to...
Luke Sandow go and live with him for...
Yeah. If Luke called him up and said, "Hey, can I stay with you, Bob, for 2 weeks?" Yeah.
He'd be like stone. He'd probably win the Olympia.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Bob should take on one final
Bob
client.
would be the only person who could keep him full on 4 carbs a day.
Yeah. Bob should take on one final person,
I know one. Yeah.
One like his final prodigy, of his career.
Make a movie out of it.
Yeah.
Generation I could do a
there you go. Feature. They could spend $1 million documenting it, except Bob won't let any cameras in his house, probably. Bob probably has the same 1970s paneling in the house.
Cover the lens, probably, of the...
You think Bob's like my dad? He won't let anyone in there to fix anything in his house?
I don't know.
I'm sure Bob's house needs to be remodeled by now. I don't think he has modern bathrooms and all that stuff.
No, yeah, but this is, it's so funny you said this because there is a friend of mine called me and he had a condo that he said, it's just stuck in the wrong era. It was built in 1974.
Yeah. And
I said, Mike, you have the worst kitchen and the worst bathroom in history. He said, I know. If it was built in 1934 with the type of cabinetry that they did, the woods that they used, you could you could change the countertops and
can't even do that.
So Bob's got the older house that people would love because look at these, look at the back, cast iron tub, cast iron this, cast iron that.
Yeah, whoever gets that after him, he's out of there. We'll redo it and it'll be worth $1 million a house probably. Because those houses are very expensive where he lives. I got news for you. Very expensive because it's close to it's relatively close to the city. It's still a very, very tight-knit Italian neighborhood. And he's, his house
I can remember being on the bus with Bob Gruskin driving through Harlem and being intrigued by Bob telling me this is a great place to buy real estate. That was 1983.
He's right. It's still a great place to buy real estate.
Because could you imagine though? Then they were giving it away.
Well, where he lived, that's because I lived over there too for a while, Eastchester Road and Pelham Parkway. It's a very popular neighborhood. It's safe over there, and you got Einstein Hospital there. It's a happening area there. And like I said, Bob's house is probably worth money. You'll probably inherit the house when he dies. You're probably in the will, I'm sure. Who else is Bob going to leave it to?
You know what I inherited from him? The memories. I can honestly say I'll look back. I always look back and say, those are the best the best of times, the worst of times.
Yeah.
They were the best of times. It was only the worst of times when it'd make you pose for 9 hours. People always ask me, why do you make me pose so much? Nobody asked anyone who worked with Bob Gruskin, what's the scariest thing ever? If he started to make you pose. He'd make you pose for 2 hours. Make Cormier look like a wimp.
I'd love to see some of those undeveloped pictures in his filing cabinets. Now they have this thing I bought. I think I told you I bought all the the pictures from Iron Man magazine.
Oh yeah, you told me
And
that.
so I bought this little thing. You just kind of slide the negatives in there, and you see it pops up the pictures. You don't even have to get the film developed anymore. So if anyone has like old film, you just slide it in there, the pieces of actual film, and it develops it right there for you instantly. And you just capture the screen, and you have a high resolution picture. I'd love to go through some of the Bob's old film. Can you imagine what he has on those things? Oh my God.
Incredible, I'm sure.
Guys that like probably no one in the world has never seen. Probably guys that like are amazing too. Who knows? All right, Chris, we're out of time. I've been talking. It's like almost 1 a.m. I have 600 emails still to answer. Congratulations congratulations to Roelly Winklaar on the big win at the Arnold Australia. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's going to bring to the Olympia this year. The Olympia lineup is going to be really, I think, a big mishmash this year, because I think there's a lot of new guys, a lot of people who've really been coming into their own physique-wise, Chris, and we're going to see Phil Heath get a little bit of a run for his money this coming year. And who knows who will pop out of the woodwork, before then. Obviously, all the divisions are super exciting. And don't forget, this weekend, Mo Musawi will have his pro show down in New Zealand. For now, we're out of time. Until next week, remember, with Heavy Muscle Radio,
the truth hurts.
good night, everyone.
All night